in and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no. Stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
I'm concerned, but I'm not overwhelmed by it. You know, we played the 3 losses against probably 3 of the top teams in the league for sure. You know, and that's just the hand we've been dealt. But it doesn't really matter. We got to win the next game, and then once you win the next game, then you have a chance to start stacking some wins. And that's what we've got to do, big picture wise, but small picture wise, we got to do a great job of putting together a great game plan and a great practice, and then a great game. Thanks, Coach. All right.
Who had a worse day, the Ravens or the cameraman? My God.
I actually cut it out so no one could see the poor camera work, so I only showed the good camera work.
Wait, what are you talking about? We didn't see John Harbaugh's face.
I know. I edited so that I didn't show the visual of just the podium when the camera was.
We saw it.
No, that wasn't live. I still had the starting stream slate.
Oh, you actually? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, yeah, we can. Let's restart. Let's read it.
Yeah, forget it. Forget it. It's about right.
I was trying to make
it's
one
about
thing look,
right.
I don't know, something look good.
Why? It's about right for what we're dealing with, Lord. Hi, hey, it's time for Glenn Clark Radio's Wacky Goofy Fun Time. Woo!
Hate that show.
Cool. Hi, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us for Project Game Day. It was off the rails. Rita was off the rails, which is good because we neted her. We needed that badly. The energy.
I don't think anyone's complaining.
We needed it from Rita. We needed that. It lifted everybody up, despite that not being the message whatsoever. Somehow the way it was delivered was uplifting. It's very strange. I don't know, man. We do Project Game Day every game day, and we're gonna do it. Even if Cooper Rush is playing quarterback, we're going to do it. Even if, my God, even if it's more. There were people that played for the Baltimore Ravens yesterday that I legitimately had never heard of.
Should they trade for Russell Wilson?
No. When I looked at the snap count yesterday, who was the guy defensively?
Jake Hummel.
No.
We know him.
No, I know Jake Hummel. There was a guy who played on the defensive line. I actually had heard of Tuopo. There was someone who played on the D-line. Okoye. I said, Christian Okoye's back? Who the hell was that?
CJ? Our boy Siege?
Never heard of him.
You don't remember Siege?
Never. I'm sure I saw him on a transaction at some point. Like, I'm sure that's the case. But I saw him on the snap count, and I said, I don't even know who that is.
So I decided to, just given the fact that, you and I were starting D-line for the Ravens, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start Isaiah Pacheco over Romeo Doubs.
Yeah, well, how'd that work out for you? I definitely started Isaiah Pacheco. I started Pacheco in one league and Kareem Hunt in another league. But it's not like I had Woody Marks sitting on the bench. Not like that's the case. I mean, I stand by the decision. It's just this is a process result. I always talk about process versus result. Like for fantasy yesterday, it was the result. The process was right. The Ravens' run defense versus someone who we knew was going to get at least snaps. I made the right decision. I got the wrong result. The Ravens' process versus result, I think they got the right result. I think the result was correct. Project Game Day, every game day all season long. PressBoxOnline.com/gameday is where you find us. It's all brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel, as well as the Costa Sin, Game Day Men's Health, and 1-800-GAMBLER, helpmygamblingproblem.org. Myself, Rita, Tyus Bowser, KZ, Stetka, Griffin. We all deal with it in our own ways when games are over. I don't want to. We can go. I think I'm good.
You want to talk about the Orioles?
No. No.
You talk about the Mets.
Sure. Why?
Well,
Why would we do that?
They collapsed. And
Right,
fell,
but I don't
so.
hate the Mets. I nothing the Mets.
Yeah, but the Mets are funny.
It doesn't give me any joy. That's not the Yankees collapsing.
Yeah,
That's not the, something happening to the people that I don't care for. It's just irrelevant to me.
Should we talk about how to fix overtime? Or
We could do that. I mean, it's certainly not what we saw last night. Holy F. Imagine thinking that's something that should exist. Who are you as a human if that's something that you think is okay? Tracy Wolfson is going to join us a little bit later on in the program. She was on the sidelines yesterday. Mike Jones from USA Today. Thank you. He will join us as well, and we will discuss it. I don't have many more thoughts today than I had yesterday. I wish that I did. My column, and I don't really. This is, the issue. We'll get to what Kyle Hamilton said yesterday. The issue with Kyle Hamilton originally is he was punching down, and it's something that I don't want to do either. And it's something that I've had to deal with. Is it's easier for me to fight with fans, and I don't want to do that. And I didn't like that I, got pushed to it yesterday during the post-game show by some dope that was in the comments that, only exists, lives and breathes off of the need for someone to say fire John Harbaugh. I'll never understand it. But I avoided it on Twitter yesterday. I just didn't have it in me to engage because I don't want to fight with you. I understand where you're coming from. You're not really the problem. It's the thought process is incorrect. This is process versus result, right? The result might very well be that John Harbaugh has to go. But the process of, well, just fire your coach for funsies in week 4 is as stupid as it was when you thought that, like, hey, let's just fire Brandon Hyde punitively and think that things are going to get better. There's actual tangible in-between. We all are feeling the same thing. It sucks. You sit down. You want this to be your joy. You believe that this was the year the Ravens were going to win the Super Bowl, and here you are in week 4, and it seems like the sky is falling. And you're not even looking forward to the idea of watching the next game. I get it. You're trying to see how much you could get for your tickets on stuff. I understand how you're feeling. And so I don't want to fight with you. You're not, what you're feeling isn't wrong. I mean, there's some amount of like, hey, we could all go for a walk. There was a very poignant moment we should turn this into a TikTok. The poignant moment during our postgame show where we let our buddy Ron from Owings Mills hop in. And he was like, I'm going to watch. What am I going to do? Spend time with my kids? And it was just amazing. It was a really amazing moment during the course of the show. And like, yeah, you could do that. Like, you could choose to not care quite as much. But I get it. That's not really what anyone wants. That's why the NFL is as powerful as it is because we care so much. So I'm not telling you you're wrong to be so worked up about it that all you can do is just say fire the coach. I understand where you're coming from. I do. In the real world, no. But that's not me saying because you're wrong. It might very well be that the end has come for John Harbaugh in Baltimore. But you don't decide that because a team's 1-3. That's nonsense. Now, if a team's 1-3 after they had been, 3-14 the previous year, if the team's 1-3 after
everyone's healthy,
right? Any of these
or
things,
they weren't playing the 3 other favorites to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, well, they haven't played the Eagles. I mean,
Sure,
okay.
Okay.
But I get
3
it.
of the
like
top
3
5.
of that. You're
Yes.
right. You are right about that. There's lots of circumstances by which, like, if the Dolphins somehow get run out of the gym by the Jets tonight, it is plausible that after 4 weeks, the Dolphins will fire their coach. But what they won't be doing is firing him because he's 1-3. And I do understand that those of you that have decided this, feel like what you're saying is, well, I'm also still reflecting the postseason failures. And I get that. But that's not why you fire a coach who's off to a 1-3 start. You fire it because it's become untenable as an organization, and you're openly admitting that there's nowhere to go from here. That's not where the Ravens are. And just saying, I can name someone who's been a coach before, it's not thoughtful. It's not adding to the conversation. At some point this year, if the Ravens bottom out, the Ravens might fire John Harbaugh, and it might not be at the end of the year. I mean, if this snowballs, if this goes from 1-3 to 1-6, 1-7, something like that, they just might get to a point where they say, well, look, we know what's coming at the end of the year, and so let's just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off now. Which was the best argument that someone could make for firing Brandon Hyde at the time the Orioles did. But again, there was so much of the season left to be played, there was nothing to be gained from it. As we know, nothing was gained from it. And not saying, well, they had a marginally better record, that doesn't justify it. The players weren't any better. They just pitched. Like, that's it. Unless you think Tony Mansolino personally was the Trevor Rogers whisperer, which would be wild, Jack. Like, if somebody presented that
and
to
they
me.
do have to hire him.
Yeah, I mean, like, by all means. Like, just hire him for that. Make that his title. Trevor Rogers whisperer. We'll go from there. But that part of it is wasted. What's tangible, and this is where the struggle comes in. And I openly acknowledge this in my column. What's tangible, I don't know. I don't know what the line is between they're a team that's terrible because of injuries and they're a team that's terrible and has injuries. I don't know between those two things where the truth is. Because, yes, the defense looked awful in week 1 when they weren't decimated by injury. But that's one game against one really good team. So does that a sample size make? A week ago, they got gashed by the run, but they didn't have a Nnamdi Madubuike. Then they lose like the rest of their defensive line on top of it. I don't know what the line is between this is how bad the defense really is versus no, most teams that went through this many significant injuries are going to look pretty bad defensively, and that's the way that it goes. So when I say I think you could make a change at defensive coordinator, as I said a couple of times dating back to last week, I don't think that conversation becomes realistic until the bye week. I mean, I could be surprised. I mean, I don't know. I'm not talking to anybody in the building about that topic. I spoke to league sources who, that's the way that this game works, and they thought the Ravens wouldn't be doing something like that until the bye week. And when I talk about the idea of not even firing Zach Orr, but even just stripping play calling duties from Zach Orr, that type of drastic change isn't something they do to the bye. But, like, are they going to have their pieces back before the bye? They're not going to have Madubuike back, for sure. Kyle Van Noy, maybe, right? Like, maybe because he got back out of the practice field, there's a chance they could have him back. They're not going to have Broderick Washington back. We have no idea what's going on with Marlon Humphrey or Roquan Smith and whether they're going to be on the field.
Hey, Wiggins, yeah.
I mean, so how are you going to be able to fully judge this? And that's where, you know, like you get the
Brandon Hyde comparison?
No, the burn it down people that are just like, and this is the problem because now they're just going to use injuries as an excuse. I'm like, I don't know how to judge it. I don't know. Your desire is just have somebody else be the defensive coordinator. Do I have any reason to believe that if somebody else is the defensive coordinator and they're running out
Teddy Buchanan,
Christian Okoye and
Jabo at weeks
like, it's going to be better? I mean, I get the argument, like, well, maybe give him a chance and just see before the season's gone. I understand the argument, but, I mean, it's sort of a zero-sum game that we're talking about. It's like arguing whether or not .2 is better than .1. Like, yeah, I guess, but I don't know.
Well, we're talking about like blood alcohol.
Thank you. It's a great point. So we all know point 2 is definitely better than point 1.
Well, you win.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go, babe. I don't know, man. I don't know how to react to any of it, truthfully. And that's the problem here. Like, we all want to have this. We just want to live in this hot take. Like, if we could just do this. Sure, we didn't win, but we won because we fired somebody. Like, that's just, we just want to feel better. It's the guarantee fairy, you know? You wake up, your daughter's missing, the whole thing.
So
like,
Chuck Pagano's the interim coach, and then they lose to the Texans by 10 points. Then we fire him too.
And I'm not, again, it doesn't mean, this is the problem, is I'm really not dunking on anybody who feels that way, because I get it. It looks so untenable at the moment. It's so easy to say. Like, one of the things I would say is no one's ever won a Super Bowl with an interim coach. Having an interim coach isn't a good thing. You can do Rich Bicascia led the Raiders to the playoffs, right? Like, well, is that
were they better off?
Is that where you're at? Is that, like, we just need any coach who could get this team into the playoffs? Because I know that's going to sound crazy, but the current head coach can get teams into the playoffs. You don't know teams win Super Bowls with interim coaches. It doesn't work that way. And there's reason for that. And we have romantic feelings about, yeah, but you fired your offensive coordinator once and won a Super Bowl. Yes, and I'm telling you, I think it's plausible to fire a coordinator. But this notion that you just fire your head coach and everything gets better immediately is based in nothing other than hope and, again, how we feel, where we are in our feelings at the moment. And, again, I'm not trying to fight with anybody. I don't want to do that. Could the Ravens fire Zach Orr or strip him of his play calling duties and try to give him to Chuck Pagano? They could. They could. I don't think they will, and I don't know that it's going to solve anything, but I think all of those conversations are warranted because of how bad the defense has been. But, again, how you measure how bad the defense has been against how decimated they are by injury, I'm telling you, that's impossible for me to try to figure out. I don't know what the line is between because of the injuries and the injuries. I can't tell you where exactly that sliding scale is. And I'm very concerned that it doesn't get better. That as much as you can talk about the schedule easing for the Baltimore Ravens, if this is what you're getting defensively, I don't think there is an easing much of anywhere. All right. Our next guest was there in Kansas City and witnessed the Ravens being absolutely drubbed by the Kansas City Chiefs. And as he says, like, this is a clock-ticking situation right now for the Baltimore Ravens. He, of course, is with The Athletic. He is NFL writer Mr. Mike Jones, who back with us now here on GCR. Mike, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you as always, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Glenn. How you doing today?
As you imagine, it's not a very pleasant day here in Baltimore. Mike, I want to ask it this way because I've been struggling with this. Which one of these statements is closer to the truth? The Ravens' defense is awful because of their injuries, or the Ravens' defense is awful and they have a lot of injuries?
I think it's the latter. Because even before yesterday, yesterday I know they trotted out a backup, defensive front. They're still missing their top, one of their top pass rushers, Kyle Van Noy, who, is also, it's a little concerning that, when your best pass rusher is getting up in age. But even, before Roquan Smith and Humphrey and Wiggins went down, their defense was still not getting the stops they needed. And last week against Detroit, they got manhandled. They got beaten, in the trenches. They gave up a lot of yards, a lot of points. It happened, in week 1 against Buffalo as well. So, yes, they have a lot of injuries, but I don't think that is the only problem with this defense.
Does it require something drastic, Mike? Does it require? I think this is the tough part to figure out: is how the Ravens got back here after seemingly figuring it out in the second half of last season, and the confidence that I think most, not just us in Baltimore, but I think most people around the league had, that they weren't going to go through this again this year. At some point, does it require, like, you can't just pretend it's going to be okay or it's going to get fixed. You have to make drastic decisions, whether that's firing Zach Orr, assigning play calling duties to somebody else. Does it require that at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a possibility. You do have a young defensive coordinator that you were high on, and yes, he needs to grow into that role. But you've had a full season under your belt now, and it just seems like something is off. They do have some experienced guys on that staff, so you would think you would be able to lean on them. Right now, he has so little to work with that I don't know that making a change would really do that much of a difference. But it's something that you look at it, okay, what's going to change? What's going to turn it around? Yeah, you've had, tough competitors in the first 3 of the first 4 weeks, but at the same time, you should have won those games. You just needed, even if you got one stop against Buffalo, or you got one stop against Detroit, you had them pinned deep in their own territory and you let them out and they scored long runs, long scoring drives. You got to be able to make some stops, and I don't know if it's reviewing the schemes and the way that they're attacking or not attacking, but it's definitely got to get fixed in a hurry.
Mike, I guess what I worry about is that we are too overreactive to a small sample size, and that there is some world where we sit back. I'm reminded of Aaron Rodgers doing the RELAX thing a decade ago, right? And I know they were 1-2 at that point and fixed it in week 4. And so it's funny that I thought there might have been a parallel to Kyle Hamilton last week, who clearly got humbled by his attempt at suggesting things weren't nearly as bad as they were. But, like, are we too overreactive to it, or is it really this bad and there is no such thing as overreaction?
Well, I mean, yes, you can overreact and look at the first month of the season. But again, if you know what this team's aspirations are and you know the teams that they have to go through to get there, and you see them lose against Buffalo and you lose to Kansas City, and then you lose to one of the best teams in the NFC and Detroit, I mean, yeah, there's a reason for concern. And there's something about this team that's off. There's not the nastiness. There's not the confidence. Lamar Jackson doesn't look comfortable behind that line. The run game, despite the weapons that they have, is not effective. Just there's a lot of head scratchers that are going on right here. And so, yes, they could turn this thing around. They've got Houston at home, the Rams. The Rams will be tough. Then you have a bye. Then you have 2 more games against seems like winnable opponents. But even if you get your record in a more respectable place, measuring up against the top teams which you faced here the last 3 of the last 4 weeks, you came up lacking. And so that's why I think that there is reason for concern, because even if you get your record fixed up in the softer part of the schedule, it's kind of fool's gold.
There's something to be said for that, and obviously they're in a bad way. Mike Jones from The Athletic is with us here on GCR. Mike, there's arguments that, like, you can look into the body language.
There's nobody on this team to really set that nasty tone, to get in people's faces and to light a fire under them. Now, I mean, you think about their leaders, Lamar, Roquan Smith, he was hurt, but he's not really that kind of guy. Humphrey was hurt. He's not really that kind of guy. There's no tone setter on this team to make a play, to get something big, to really get in people's faces and get them ignited. It just seemed like they just really fizzled. I think that the thing that also was surprising was, look, their offense was the best in the league they were scoring 37 points a game. And then yesterday, not even their offense was good. And, they had, 2 turnovers and, loss of downs play on the 4th down when, look, you need a yard and Derrick Henry can't pick up a yard for you. You don't even attempt it. You go empty backfield. It was just like the whole spirit and soul of this team is missing. And that was very telling for me right there.
I understand wholly, and I agree that it seemed very telling in that moment. Mike, with all that said, right, like I think there is something to be the question of when I'm not having the John Harbaugh conversation because it's absurd to me to discuss a coach. It's week 4 of an NFL season. You're 1-3. It's just not now. But I understand the conversation that exists, which is there is a real chance, as you say, the clock is ticking, that this is dancing towards bottoming out, something along those lines. At what point is that conversation not absurd? Like when during the season is it no longer, all right, I get it, but come on. When does it become, it might really be reaching its nadir here?
Well, I mean, like, okay, if you fire Harbaugh, like, who are you going to turn to? Who, like, right. Season, who on that staff is going to get this team turned around? It's very rare that a change happens that turns the season around. I mean, we saw a few years ago when the Raiders fired Gruden and Rich Bisaccia, turned them around and they squeaked into the playoffs, but it's very rare. And I just don't know that there's anybody on this staff that could produce a turnaround. If for whatever reason they don't get this thing turned around and they, lose, double-digit games, miss the playoffs, then you have to say, okay, is it the message? Is it gone stale? Or was it that we were really shorthanded? The last time that they started 1-3, they had rampant injuries. And, it doesn't matter who your coach is. It's kind of hard to overcome that in, a lot of situations. But say they get healthy and this thing just never gets back on track and they blow a lot of opportunities, self-inflicted wounds, lack of discipline. Those are the things you look at when you're trying to decide whether you fire a coach or not.
Hey, but other than all that, everything is good. Mike, is there any chance that like people will finally realize that there should be no ties in football, and this is insane that we have a sport that's the most popular in the world, and we allow this, and what the F are we doing? Is there any chance that changes after last night?
I mean, I just don't know what the Packers were thinking. They just looked like they thought they had, like they were playing for a tie rather than, I don't know why Jordan Love wasn't taking multiple shots at the end zone. It was, I was like, do they realize the clock is ticking?
What is going on?
No sense of urgency. It was really hard to fathom. But yeah, it's, pretty mind blowing. You score 40 points each and you can't top that with the game on the line against that Dallas defense.
It is pretty mind blowing. It's also pretty mind blowing that we don't have any system in place that says, go play another 5 minutes and get a winner. For God's sakes, what are we doing here? That's
I mean, it's the regular season. The playoffs get that.
I know. It's just there's nothing good that comes from a tie. It's bad for everybody, and it's all the people that are like, that's because you're not a soccer fan. You're right.
You're right.
I am actually. That's the weird part. I am a soccer fan. The worst part about soccer is the ties.
Yeah. Ties
are no good for anybody. Mike, what's on your mind? Where are you going to be headed next?
Next, I'm not anywhere this next week. The week after that, I might be back here in Kansas City for that Detroit game. So we'll see.
At by Mike Jones, of course, is how you follow him, and you can see his stuff at The Athletic. We'll link up his column about the clock ticking for the Baltimore Ravens today on our Twitter account at Glenn Clark Radio. Mike, always appreciate you, man. Thanks for spending the time with us this morning.
All right, thanks for having me.
That's Mike Jones from The Athletic with us here on GCR. Today's show is also brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel, the best place to spend every game day. Every big fight night is inside Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel. 100-foot media wall, as well as great food, great drink specials, the whole shebang. Sports and Social, Live Casino and Hotel. Let me comb through really quickly what our guy Don Who is it that think I'm protecting John Harbaugh? This is the weird. I don't know how to. Again, swear to God, I'm not trying to punch down today. I don't want to do it.
Sounds like you are.
I don't want to do it. It's just weird to me where the thought process of if you don't scream fire somebody, that means you're making excuses or kissing someone's ass or protecting them. I'm telling you, we're going to do slaps to the helmet a little bit later. You're not going to believe who's going to be on my list. You're not going to believe it because you always tell me I'm the guy that makes excuses and protects and kisses ass. It's this weird either you and it's not just within sports. It exists throughout. It's, obviously in politics. Either you want to see the world burn, either you want anarchy or you're the problem. If you don't say it as loud and as angrily as you can, you're the problem. John Harbaugh is a part of the problem right now. There's no way around it. And that's for Don. That's for the weirdo that was in the chat. That's for anybody. I'm not protecting John Harbaugh. I'm telling you, you don't fire any coach in this situation in week 4 of a season. Because it doesn't get better. It just gets different. We know you don't want lame duck head coaches or lame duck managers, yet there's nothing we love more than signing up for that just to get that blood that we want blood. Bring us a head on a stick. It's not sensical. And that's not me saying I think John Harbaugh is doing a great job or no one could do as good a job as John Harbaugh. It's not me saying any of those things. You're arguing with somebody else. I'm telling you from a functionality standpoint, there's a reason why if Griffin puts the wrong name on the screen, I don't just say, Griffin's got to go.
Although that might be worse.
I mean, plenty of times I've thought about it.
Sometimes I come in, I think my name's Caleb,
Yeah, right. When Griffin's got the wrong name on the screen, I don't just say, well, just take anybody off the street and sit them in the chair. They can do it. They can put the right name. I don't do that. Now.
But you do think I could coach the Ravens.
Oh, of course. Yeah, 100%. Definitely could do that. Now, again, it's the same way. At some point, if it continues, if every day the wrong names are on the screen and it's not working, at some point, as someone who is responsible, I would have to step in and say, okay, man, got to go. Sorry. Love you, but your mind's on all the big, sexy assignments that you get. Like you're too preoccupied by Goucher field hockey or whatever it is. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Club.
Like, it probably is. I'm not trying to. I don't want that to sound like a shot at Goucher field hockey. Go you Gophers. My wife works there.
I know you're upset that they don't ever ask you to.
That's a great point. I don't.
Help out, but
don't ever get those assignments. They have asked. That's actually not true. Well, actually, it was weird. They did the non-ask years ago. They were like, "Hey, I know this isn't you, but." It's like, well, I mean, I don't know that it isn't me. Let's not say those things. And then we talked a little bit more. I was like, you know what? You're right. It isn't me. That's okay. It's a shame. I had a pretty decent weekend up until the football game. Like, it was a great scene. I worked the Ravens Rise High School Showdown on Friday, and Roquan and Teddy Buchanan were there.
Wow.
They made the trip all the way down to Kent Island for the game.
Maybe that's the issue.
You think that's the problem? They need to stop.
Why were they not,
I think
don't know.
Jermaine Lewis was there and Kyle Arrington. It was good to see Kadri, who had to admit to me privately afterwards, hey, man, you're really good at that. I'm like, I know. Thank you. No chance he'd ever. The next time he comes on the show, if I attempted to get him to say it, no way. No chance. Not gonna
Glenn,
happen.
just relax, all right?
He's mad at me about other things. Like for Kadri and I have legitimately been close friends. He won't say that either. For 20,
is it true?
For 20 years,
30
years,
seasons
something
of
like
Ravens
this at this
football.
point.
So, I guess he wasn't on the.
Yeah, he wasn't on the inaugural team, but
27.
No, and I wasn't. I didn't cover the team until
You and 16-year-old 16-year-old Glenn and Kadri weren't.
But Kadri was one of the first regulars that I had. Like, he was one of the first regular guests that I had on the show at that point. And we've had plenty of time, but it was fun. We had a fun time doing the game together on Friday. And then, spent the weekend with USA Lacrosse. That was great, other than them losing to Canada. The men. Women sure didn't, but the men did. Seeing Logan McNaney, seeing some guys I know. It was a great weekend, right up until the football game. I mean, the baseball wasn't good, but I wasn't watching that. So, other than the football game, it was a lovely weekend for me. I don't know how I got there. Where would we go? Oh, the Griffin. I was going to fire Griffin. Yeah, the point of all this is I'm firing Griffin.
Wait, really? Wait.
That's the point.
Thanks a lot, YouTube chat.
No, but this is the way it goes. Like, I understand where it's coming from. I'm not telling you that it's good or it's okay or it's acceptable. I'm just telling you that this isn't the time. There will be a time. Or the suggestion that just let anyone else, you get Tony Mansolino in that case. By the way, I've had a lot of people bring up to me that, like, is it weird that they're letting Tony Mansolino?
Well, Elias isn't going to talk to the media.
Well, he's doing it too. They're both doing it. Yes, they're both doing it. But it's a fair point, which is why. Why? As of today, Tony Mansolino isn't the manager of the Orioles because there's no Orioles to be managed, and he was the interim manager. Now, I guess in title they continue until you're not, you are. I think it's one of those types of situations. But it's a fair point that's being asked. Maybe we'll find something out today. I have made it very clear. I do not think Tony Mansolino should be the manager of the Baltimore Orioles. Period. Full stop. There's no... I don't feel bad saying it because he's a nice guy. I don't any of that. I'm not going to mix words. I do not believe Tony Mansolino should be the manager of the Baltimore Orioles. Period. He's also a nice guy. He's also, it could have been worse under him. All those things can also be true, but that's not where the conversation starts to me. That's in addition to, but Tony Mansolino shouldn't be the manager of the team. I think that if this continues for the Baltimore Ravens, then John Harbaugh shouldn't be the coach of the team. But not in week 4. Because it's just, there's no good that comes from that. Whatever you think that is. It's hilarious how today there are people who are like, well, just make Chuck Pagano. Imagine saying that to someone in Indianapolis a couple years ago. Well, the savior would just be Chuck Pagano. They'd be like, the guy we ran out of here? That's who you've convinced yourself is the savior? I'm spending too much time on this topic. I'm sorry. I'd blame Don.
Don exactly what he wants.
I know, right? I'm sorry. Rich Jones, appreciate all that you do, Glenn and Griffin. Well, that's a nice thing to say. Thank you, Rich. I can't believe there's a nice person in the comments. What the hell is going on today? Y'all take it easy. Life's too short to let this organization kill our vibe.
Where's the vibe? Wow.
Was the vibe good before now? Like, what vibe have we had killed?
No, we got the good vibe.
Oh, you and I have the good
Yeah.
vibe? Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, man. People have told me before they wanted to hire me to be the vibes guy. They have said that. Wasn't that what Michael Strassner said his role was on the Loyola Club lacrosse team, was to be the vibes guy?
Basically. Yeah.
Like, I'm just there for the vibes, man. Thank you, Rich. That's just a nice sentiment. And I do, to some extent, agree. Like, there is some point to what Rich is saying, which is, like, this should 100%. I mean, like, beyond, like, there really should be prosecution for something like that. That's not a bid. Like, there's no way that's acceptable. And, like, was there probably a lot of that? I'm sorry.
But, like, again, I'm not a golf guy.
Right.
Is this what they want?
Well, the Ryder
I
Cup
don't
is
know what they
supposed to
want.
be where things are a little bit unbuttoned, but it's still not supposed to be. Like, the point
Like
is
Rory
F you Rory. That's not supposed to be that, but I don't know exactly where the line is between the two. I don't know what the line is.
And so same with like college game day where they're going F the Ducks all morning, you know? Like,
And yet we think that's just kind of silly, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not. Maybe it's because it's not a specific person's name.
yeah.
Like, if it was FU Europe, I don't know. I mean,
FEU.
something like that. I don't know, man. I don't know. All right. When we come back in, let's do this. I want to react to Kyle Hamilton Let's do slaps, and we'll do picks recap, and then we'll talk to Tracy Wolfson as well. So that's all on the way. Today's show also brought to you by County Sports Zone, countysports.zone. You want to know exactly how things played out in the Ken Island Bennett showdown from Friday night? You go to countysports.zone. It's proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Everything you need to know about high school sports, scores, schedules, rankings, updates, where they're making coaching changes. They got you covered. Countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com.
For fans of the Costas Inn, and who isn't, I have some great news. Now there's a second location to go along with 4100 North Point Boulevard. This one is at the Timonium OTB. This is Stan the Fan, and I have been a fan of the Costas Inn and Triantafalo's family for going on 30 years. They're open for lunch and dinner, same great Costas feel, same great menu and quality food you've been enjoying for well over 50 years. The exact address on your GPS is 2200 York Road, and their phone number at the new location is 667-406-1970. If you're new to the Costas experience, get ready for a real treat. All wrapped up in a new spacious dining room in Timonium at the OTB. If you want steamed crabs, you have them, and the full menu at 4100 North Point Boulevard. The number for reservations there at Costas, 410-477-1975.
2025 Navy football single game tickets are on sale now. Don't miss the exciting home game schedule this year. The games feature exciting American Athletic Conference matchups, including the Commander-in-Chief rival Air Force on Saturday, October 4th. Don't miss all of the exciting action in historic Annapolis at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium, and get your tickets today at NavySports.com. Go Navy! Beat Army!
Game day gets even better at Live Casino. Score a live jersey on September 6th and bucket hat on September 27th. Plus, catch our big plays, big pays hot seats on select game days. When the home team scores, the prize pool doubles. And we'll give away a $50 sports and social gift card with every touchdown. Take it to the end zone at Live Casino. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit. Solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs.
BoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Feeling sluggish, unfocused, or not like yourself? It could be low testosterone. At Game Day Men's Health, we specialize in testosterone replacement therapy to help men boost energy, improve mood, and regain confidence. Our treatments, including testosterone cypionate, are safe, natural, and tailored to fit your lifestyle with weekly injections or pellet therapy. Get started today with a free testosterone test and feel the difference. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Game Day Men's Health, where men reclaim their game.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Monday edition of the program. Maryland 5-star, that's something pleasant. We could use pleasant things right now. The Maryland 5-star is coming up in just a couple of weeks, October 16th through 19th at Fair Hill in Cecil County. It's not only a world-class sporting event, it's also just a wonderful celebration of fall here in the state of Maryland. It's got the Corgi Cup, the ponies, the Food and Wine Festival, great shopping. There's so much going on. If you've never been, this is the year to check it out. The 5th edition of the Maryland 5-star, bigger and better than ever. Get to maryland5star.us right now with the number 5 in order to get your tickets for the Maryland 5-star. As I said last week, Kyle Hamilton's comments were not okay. Stan and I talked about it on Friday. I want to be careful. And I don't want to be careful because I want to make excuses for him. I want to be careful because I do think that context matters. And I think, particularly after what we learned yesterday, and we'll get to it in a second, but I think that Kyle Hamilton got carried away in what he thought he was doing. And what he thought he was doing was defending his guy, Zach Orr, and maybe even attempting to shift the accountability towards the players, and in the process went the wrong way with it. And we all do this. It's the thing where we're really mad at something and we take it out on somebody else. And there might even be truth to the idea that, like, hey, Ravens fans have been spoiled. It's just that Kyle Hamilton's John Harbaugh being mad about the idea of Super Bowl or bust. Like, dude, you're not the one to say it. You might be right, but you're not the one to say it. Your messaging should always be nothing other than being pissed off for greatness. Should always be, we only care about one thing. You can the best way of doing it is the way that most people, most players, most athletes, most coaches do it. And when they say, I don't concern myself with what other thing from 2014, where Aaron Rodgers, they're 1-2. He comes out, he does the RELAX bit. Well, they turn around and win in Game 4 in blowout fashion, and then they run off all the way to the NFC Championship game that year. The Ravens, of course, didn't do that yesterday. And so the only question is, were Kyle Hamilton's comments reflective of the Ravens in general not believing things were actually as bad as we thought they were? And I don't know that. I did appreciate, this is how Kyle Hamilton began his press conference. This is courtesy of Jamison Hensley of ESPN.
First, I just want to apologize to the fans. Just the product that we're putting on the field right now is not up to par with what the Ravens have been in the past and have been recent past. And I think we know that. We're trying our best to correct it, but obviously something's wrong. So it's up to all of us to try to fix that. Also, I feel like earlier in the week I used poor choice of words, just saying that Ravens fans were spoiled. I retract that. I meant in a sense that Ravens fans have been accustomed to great defense, great teams. Haven't been a lot of teams in Ravens history since '96 to underachieve to the point where fans felt disappointed in the season as a whole. And I feel like as of right now, week 4, obviously, long way to go in this season, but we're disappointed, and I'm sure the fans are disappointed too. So we got to get it fixed. We got to put a product and a team on the field that fans are proud to say they root for, proud to say they spend money on tickets to come to games and all that stuff and support us. So on a brighter note, I want to shout out to everybody who contributed today, specifically on the defensive side. CJ Okoye, I think it was his first game ever in the NFL, did a great job. Josh Tupou just signed here this week, was playing for us. Brent Urban got elevated, is playing for us. Mike Green's a rookie.
You hate Brent Urban, I get it.
It's possible that Kyle Hamilton meant things have been so good, but it's just not worth fighting about. Shifting it towards fans is never going to be a win. It's why I don't really want to fight about firing. I don't really want to do it. That's not the problem. The problem isn't that fans want the coach fired. It's not practical. It's not real today, but it's not the problem. The problem is the performance of the defense. We're shifting. We're muddying the waters. That's the problem. That's got to be better. And I do appreciate that. And I think we can show appreciation for Kyle Hamilton, who I think most of us would agree is very low on the list of issues that we have. I can appreciate him stepping up and saying those things. Does it change the reality? Nope. Kyle Hamilton saying something nice after a football game has nothing to do with whether or not the Ravens are going to be able to do anything against the Texans next week. But I can still be appreciative of the thought, and if there was any world in which the Ravens were not taking things seriously enough, or that was a reflection of we just genuinely believe that you guys are overreacting and we think we're fine, then maybe humility could be beneficial. I don't think that was the case, but there's no way they can't be feeling an amount of humility after yesterday. We do. Which one do we first? Picks, recap, or slaps?
I don't know. I feel like I want to get slaps over with.
Funsies, let's do it. Slaps to the helmet. You know the deal. Pick 5 Ravens. Rank them 5 to 1. 2 must be offensive players. 2 must be defensive players. The 5th can be another offensive player, another defensive player, a special teams player, or a coach. Number 1 is your sort of anti-man of the match. We'll put him up on the board behind us. Where do we begin? Slaps to the helmet is brought to you this week by, it'll be brought to you by Game Day Men's Health in Owings Mills, Frederick, and Columbia. You know what they've done for me? Peptide treatment has been phenomenal. Has really given me a boost and a way to start the day in particular that I had been needing as I had gotten into my 40s and I was just starting to feel sluggish and worn down. You might genuinely be in a place where you are low T. And it's a word that we hear thrown around all the time, but like we don't really spend any time diving into what it means. What is low T? What does that do to you? Is it just something I have to deal with because I'm a certain age? Don't just deal with it. Don't just accept it. Instead, call Game Day Men's Health. 443-264-4454 in Owings Mills. 443-266-3505 in Columbia. 240-931-3717 in Frederick. GameDayMen'sHealth.com is the website. All right. I guess I'm starting with my number 5. I believe it's this gentleman right here. I think there's a lot of candidates for a defensive player this week. I think the number 1 was kind of obvious, or the top defensive player was kind of obvious, but I think there were a lot of candidates for a second defensive player just because a lot of them fall into the category of what is it that you do here. For me, this is sort of about dealing with narratives, and to me, the path, and I spoke about this, to how this was going to work for the Ravens was Mike Green was going to be an X factor, and Mike Green was going to be a difference maker, and Mike Green was going to be a game changer that the Ravens have lacked. And maybe it's unfair for me to judge someone 4 weeks into their career, and it's the softest of judgment. I'm making him number 5 on one list. But it is really alarming without the best pass rushers on the field that there is just no difference being made by Mike Green, like, at all. He had the one hurry yesterday that, you know, every now and then you say, like, I kind of see something. Like, you kind of feel like there might be something there, but he is just making no difference whatsoever. We can question the way that he's being used, and that's fair. Every time I see him in coverage, I think to myself, why? But, you know, you got to be able to do it if you're going to be able to be impactful. Mike Green is not impactful. Mike Green is number 5 on my list.
Yeah, I mean, that second defense guy, yes. Well, I don't know. I felt like the 2. I honed in on the 2 I wanted on defense pretty early on. But, I mean, yeah, to your point, like, there's 3 rookies starting on this defense. Like, it's – and none of them have really done a whole lot. Teddy Buchanan had the one good game, but then he got thrust into a much larger role in the second half, and he was a guy that I was thinking about putting on the list, Teddy Buchanan. But evidently I went with 2 other guys. I decided to go with the one offensive lineman I had on my list at number 5. I believe his new nickname is Revolving Door. Daniel Faalele is my number 5. I mean, the O-line was bad, but I mean, Faalele was not good yesterday. He let on the 4th and 1 with 3 minutes left in the first half. He just let Bolton come right through, go right at Lamar. And I mean that was a massive play in the game. They were only down 6. You're 3 minutes out from halftime, and you know the Chiefs are getting the ball. So you this is a 4th and 1 you got to have, and they didn't do it. Faalele let him right through. He was holding on the very next series that led to the fumble. He was not blocking Chris Jones. And he ended up holding him anyway, and that led to Lamar having to force himself up into the pockets, and then the ball knocked out of his hands in the fumble. So those were 2 plays that stuck out the most. But yeah, I mean, as I see you're putting up your number 4, the right side of the line was extremely weak, and it has been all season.
The line between what's going on with Roger Rosengarten, who we thought was good, helpful, versus just some people think that has something to do with Daniel Faalele being next to him. I don't know.
I think it could be that. Like it's a lot of you have Roquan.
But here's what I know: not lining up on the offensive line, that ain't have nothing to do with Daniel Faalele, or if it does, that can't be your response. Your response can't be, well, I want to be a step back from everybody in order to see what's coming over here. Because, as we saw, it negated a big play to DeAndre Hopkins, and that was harmful. Who was worse? I don't know. I've also kind of been rotating the offensive linemen through the first. We've done 3 versions of slaps, and I think I picked a different one every time just to kind of spread the wealth around. The penalty stood out to me yesterday. Roger Rosengarten hasn't been very good. Roger Rosengarten gets to speak for the list this time.
I'm fine with that. I mean, yeah, just the right side of the line last week and tonight. I mean, it was or tonight. Last night was not good. Marlon Humphrey, I came in with my number 4 here. Okay. I mean, he was getting torched for as long as he was out there, and it's not like he was going up against Amon-Ra St. Brown this time. It was it was Travis Kelce and I can't say it either. Tyquan Thornton. He was not on it felt like he wasn't on the field for the first for the first half. So Roquan Smith is and we're talking about, again, you're talking about the guys, the highest paid guys on this team as well. Roquan Smith was nowhere to be found.
Lamar's my number 2, and it's not the team lost, so it's Lamar. It's you can't shake it. The interception was atrocious. I mean, it was an atrocious, indefensible throw to make. What are you doing there? And I know John Harbaugh afterwards was praising, well, that's just a hell of a play by Leo Chanel. Like, it was a good play. There's no doubt about that. But it's a ball that you can't ever throw ever. And, it's one thing when people say, well, Lamar's pressed right now. I don't know. In that part of the game, it was 7-3. They had moved the ball very well on both of their first 2 possessions.
They were still leading at that point?
Yeah, there's no
awful. I mean, I think to defend it whatsoever.
I also still think that he can run the ball more. Like, I also think those things are true, but
was my next point.
That's not even really my issue here. My issue is the tangible problems. But yes, on top of that, I also think he can run the ball more.
He's holding the ball too long. And yeah, I mean, as bad as the O-line is, I don't understand why, all of a sudden over the last 2 weeks, apparently a QB spy is the solution to the Lamar, for defenses, is the solution to how you stop Lamar Jackson. What's that?
Lining this up.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
I just didn't realize it until we got.
Yeah, I mean Lamar Jackson, and yeah, it's the 2 turnovers. Like and we're not used to that with Lamar. Like he still was 14 for 20 while he was out there. That's pretty good completion percentage wise, but it's Lamar Jackson, number 2.
It's gonna be really weird for a kiss ass like me. Conversation we had last week.
No,
Mark Andrews would get a pup
for
plus.
what?
Because he was catching the football when it was thrown his way.
Twice?
No, he had more than 2. I think he had 7.
Zay had 5 catches. I mean, or Zay had 7 catches too.
I said Zay. Zay was on the list.
I feel like half of those for the offensive skill guys, I feel like half of that was in the garbage time. So Justice Hill and Kyle Hamilton are the only patch I'm giving out.
Tough. It's tough, man.
If they'd won the game, there's only 2 that.
Look, it was atrocious, and there's no way around it. And when it's that bad, yes, the head coach does wear it. There's no debate. Like, can I tell you what part of it specifically was John Harbaugh's fault? I mean, we could debate the incongruency of the 4th downs. Like, you're going for it in the first half in bad field position and giving them the short field, but then in the second half when you're down by 17 and you're on the other 14-yard line, you're kicking a field goal? Like, I can debate the congruency of it and the decision-making. I can certainly ask the question that everybody else is asking, which is, like, did you know that there was a play going in on 4th and 1 that didn't involve Derrick Henry, and did you sign off on that? But, again, that goes back into the meddling conversation. Like, do you really want to meddle? How much of that is on John Harbaugh? How much of that is on Todd Monken, who we don't think should be fired, so we don't really want to – we'd rather come down on John Harbaugh than come down on Todd Monken, but, like – I don't think John Harbaugh called the play. We could debate those things, but it's more just you got your ass kicked in every phase of the game, and when you get your ass kicked in every phase of the game, I mean, Tyler Loop made a kick. I guess there's that.
Yeah, because he decided to trot him out there. I mean, again, they should have gone for it.
No, the one at the end of the half was the one that you had to kick. Like, that one was the one I was giving him credit for.
Okay.
John Harbaugh.
I mean, yeah, he was passive. They not going for on 4th down when they need to. And I guess, like, if we're trying to look more introspectively at that is that so apparently I guess Lamar at that point was hurt, so that's why you're not going for it on that 4th and short, deep in Chiefs territory. But the Chiefs were still 4 for 4 on 4th down, just like last week. The opposing team, every time they go for it, they are getting it. The team was they're undisciplined. They had 6 penalties by the halfway point of the second quarter, including 2 delay games. And yeah, maybe that's more on Lamar, but it's also on the coaching staff. And you have issues with the way they're running in short yardage. You have issues with the way with the defense not being able to get a single stop over the last 2 weeks. So yeah, it all culminates into the guy at the top of the chopping block. So John Harbaugh's number 1.
Give me yours at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter or Blue Sky throughout the course of the day. Now let's recap picks for the week, and you can call me Glenn the High Water Man Clark. Oh, Shell went 6-3 too. Damn it! All right, tied. We're tied for the High Water Man this week. Actually lost.
Oh wait, no. You said, well, Ken said Ravens. That was
right. I understand, and
yeah.
I lost that. But you said Navy to cover, and I also
you ended up
lost
picking
that.
Kansas City though.
What's that?
You picked Kansas City though.
I understand, but that was in our game. I put my actual dollars
on the Ravens
because Ken said it was the lock of the century of the year. So I'm now homeless. Now who do I see about that? Who do I?
Probably Ken. He's the adult.
Now let's go. Oh. I guess I'm gonna have to move in with the Basses. That's the way
it's not gonna work. Actually,
things are gonna go now moving forward. Navy wins, but yeah, it was not like they race off to a 14-0 lead, and you're like, okay, like this is looking like a team that's ready for it. And I know the weather was a factor as the rains came in on Saturday, but sluggish, turnovers, just not. They didn't look dominant. And some of that is Rice's maybe better than they've been, but
yeah, and I guess unique challenges of facing Rice, like they're going to slow the game down a lot as well.
Right, they're going to try to do to you what you do to them, the whole thing. I don't know. Brian Powell was very angry about your lock of the century of the year. You can't do that. Don't you for a week. Everybody else was sub 500 for the week, and so now we have a 3-way tie atop the table with James Revere, Andrew Stetka, and Griffin Bass. Of course, remember, Andrew Stetka being at the top of the table, very compelling story.
So I got to hold him off now, huh?
But to be fair, we've reached this point of the season where everybody at the top of the table is only 2 games over 500. That's where we are.
Just wait, I'll be 3 games over.
Jeremy Kahn's a game back at an even 21-21, and then myself and Joe Serpico are now 2 games back at 20-22. John and Little Rock 3 games back. John Proctor, Kyle Ottenheimer, Ryan Shell 4 games back. KZ is 5 games back, now closer to the bottom of the table than the top of the table, where we find Paul Valley 7 games back, but 2 games in front of KZ in the 2 parts of the table that matter most. So that's what's going on in our picks contest. We'll get that up, slaps and picks recap at glennclarkradio.com. Had to do this a little bit earlier because of her schedule, but an opportunity to catch up with someone who was there on the sidelines in Kansas City yesterday, Tracy Wolfson from CBS, right here on GCR. Our next guest was on the sideline yesterday, working the game with Jim and Tony on CBS. She is, of course, the great Tracy Wolfson, and she is back with us this morning here on GCR. Tracy, it's Glenn. As you'd imagine, walking into a little bit of a hornet's nest. Not that it's your fault by any stretch of the imagination, but you could imagine the type of morning we're having here in Baltimore. Appreciate you taking the time for us.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, and believe me, we were looking forward to the typical Chiefs Ravens matchup that we usually get. I'll tell you, we have not had a good game yet, so we were looking forward to this one. And, it didn't pan out the way we expected.
Tracy, what was the feeling like? As obviously the Ravens got off to a great start. They go down, they get a touchdown. That looks like the Ravens offense that we had at least seen for much of the year. Obviously, the interception is where things sort of started to turn and snowball. But what was the feeling like as the injuries mounted, as you had to keep walking back over and asking for more updates? Like, what was the energy like? What was the feeling like on that sideline?
Yeah, I got to be honest, there really was no energy. It was pretty somber. You lose a lot of your leaders, especially on the defensive side of the ball as well. And so it's hard to find that. Lamar was frustrated, especially after the interception. And then you just saw kind of like, as you mentioned, a little bit somber and figuring out like where are we going from here. And it just kind of escalated. And one injury after another. And then you saw Lamar's face when he decided, when he was dealing with the hamstring injury and the trainers were looking at him. And it was almost like, what do I do kind of feel. And, I think who knows how bad it is. And hopefully it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, in those situations, you just want to be safe, rather than sorry. So overall, I talked to Harbaugh coming out of the locker room, and, I think we all were surprised that Derrick Henry had just 4 rushes in that first half. And, he's one of the guys that can bring that energy. And when he doesn't, when he has just 4 rushes and, not kind of producing how he should, and not really his fault because he didn't really get the opportunities. And then coach says, not only do we have to get involved in the run game, but in the pass game as well. I think they just needed a spark, and we kind of never saw that.
I'm glad you brought up, because I just want to get your perspective. I think there were people that wondered how legitimate the injury was for Lamar. Being down there, was there any sense I thought it was absurd, the suggestion that Lamar just quit on, my God,
Absurd.
There's just
Completely
no way.
Absurd.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a competitor through and through. He wants this more than anyone. He talked to us in our meetings about the fact that he's not building a man cave until he gets a Lombardi trophy. Forget the Heisman. He does not, he wants this so bad. And so the frustration certainly mounted. And then after the hamstring injury, the frustration was there because of that. And so I think that whole rhetoric is completely ridiculous.
Tracy, you bring up, I'm actually interested, you bring up, you guys have the meetings the night before. I wonder what those conversations were like, and how, how they presented what they believed, what they thought they could fix, and what had gone wrong, and what was the energy like for you in talking to John and Lamar, and I think Derek was involved with that as well, right, before the game, in comparison to what we saw?
Honestly, John is great. He always is in our meetings, and he felt like they had a really good plan. And, they also fully believe there is, and I said this at the top of the show, that this is, there was a sense of urgency. There's no panic amongst either one of these teams coming into this game. I think both teams feel they could rebound from a 1-3 loss. Not that they wanted that, right? But they feel like they have the team that can rebound from it. I think knowing the injuries were piling up, certainly going into the game, they had to adjust some stuff. That is something that they can't handle, and they just have to wait out. They can't, you can't do really much about that. And, John was very honest with us about the injuries and where they were. And, and then Lamar came in with, excitement, looking forward to it, talking about the environment and how he, it's a college atmosphere and he loves playing there, and, how he's looking for that win. And like I said, all the things he's looking forward to this season in hopes of trying to get to that Super Bowl that he wants so bad. And then Derrick Henry came in, pretty as he was all week, remorseful, but confident he was going to get things fixed, which he did, certainly, but wasn't given that many opportunities. I kind of question that a little bit more. Establishing the run, we know always opens up things more, and certainly takes a lot of pressure off Lamar.
And obviously, a lot of the questions being about Derrick Henry, not being on the field in short yardage situations, which we will not be making sense of, I think, anytime soon. Tracy Wolfson. Tracy is with us here on GCR. Tracy, I feel like we're trying to figure out how bad really is, and it's very difficult because it's almost like you can't even deal with the underlying problems without knowing the reality of the big picture issues and Roquan Smith's availability and Marlon Humphrey and, Lamar Jackson, who if he misses real time, then come on, it's not even worth talking about all of this. If it's not as bad, John Harbaugh said afterwards, he didn't think anything was season ending. How bad does it feel like it really is for the Baltimore Ravens at this point at 1-3?
Look, I mean, let's remember who they played so far this season, right? So they've run into some really good teams, and then they ran into a Kansas City team that played their best game maybe in a few years offensively. They finally they're getting healthier and getting some pieces back. And the defense, as we talked about, was banged up. And so, and Spags is always really good at game planning against Lamar and the Ravens. He has that plan in place, and they came out and they were able to implement it. So I think when you look back at, who they've played, and they have a pretty favorable schedule going forward, that if Lamar is healthy and this was just a little bit of a tweak and, not worth risking it, hopefully he comes back. Am I right? You guys have the Texans next and then a bye week.
The Rams,
you can really get, right? You could get some time to regroup, get some guys healthy, and get back out there. And I, like I said, and I kind of agree with John, like certainly this team is not out. There's a lot more football to play. We know what's been happening at any given day and any week in the NFL and also when it comes to your division. So, I wouldn't throw in the towel just yet. It is still, we just completed just week 4, but certainly the health of this team is paramount, and that's the most important thing.
No doubt. And we'll hopefully get a little information on that from John Harbaugh later today, however much he wants to provide. Tracy, I guess the concern is like what happens if it does start to go the other way, right? And that's the part that I can't fully answer to right now, because I agree with you. And anybody calling for blood, they're 1-3. It's the season isn't even a quarter of the way through yet. Like, it's just those conversations are absurd, but they're not absurd later. You know what I mean? Like this. I think the concern is that this does have the potential to snowball, particularly if the injuries continue to linger, and I don't know, like what that conversation becomes and what it looks like. But I hear what you're saying about the Texans. They did look pretty good yesterday, and if this defense is depleted, it's hard for me to imagine them stopping much of anyone at the moment.
No, I get it, and I understand the fans and certainly quick reaction, and it makes sense, and it's frustrating because you come into the season with such high hopes and an unbelievable team from top to bottom and a team that should make a run at a Super Bowl, no doubt. And it's frustrating when you hit, this situation of all the injuries, which are out of anyone's control. Yes, and the Texans did look good, yesterday. Certainly not going to be an easy game, but a winnable game for the Ravens if Lamar is out there and you get a few guys back. But and maybe change it, some things up a little bit, and maybe it's just a better matchup than the Chiefs. Certainly on the road against a team that was getting healthy and has all their weapons back and was using that energy every second of that game, gaining more and more confidence throughout that one. So I have no answers. Yeah. It's unfortunate. I wish, I'm sure all these fans wish that you can just, have a fairy wand and get some guys, back. But hopefully, whatever happens next week and then after the bye week, there is a little bit of regrouping and changing some thought process and maybe, some schematics. I'm not a coach, so I don't know. But certainly I think in terms of the offense, you can't have your second best player, whatever, co-best player, whatever you want to call Derrick Henry, not involved in the game plan like they did.
Tracy,
and I don't, we're not second guessing anyone, but I can see the frustration on Derrick's face as well.
No, it doesn't work. There's no doubt. This is not built for that. Tracy, how much did this tell us about the Chiefs? Because we know the Ravens are in a bad way at the moment, but I do think there was far too much writing off of the Chiefs over the course of the first 3 weeks, and I feel like we know better. This is Andy Reid. This is Patrick Mahomes. I'm not trying to suggest that this immediately makes them the favorites in the AFC or anything like that, but I do think it tells us at least a little bit about how much overreaction there was to what we saw from the Chiefs early on in the season.
We've seen this story so many times, right? Last year, too, they were depleted and they didn't have their wideouts and they had no offensive rhythm and they wind up in a Super Bowl again. So I always take that with a grain of salt. I knew going in, again, like the Ravens, they had a really difficult, first 3 games, and including the Ravens. So first 4 games, I mean, they played tough competition. So 1-3, or 1-2 going in. Yeah, frustrating, but like I said, there wasn't much panic. They knew what they had. They knew when they can get Xavier Worthy back, when they get Rashee Rice back in week 7, that they would be that complete team they saw in the offseason, which was an explosive team, something that they're looking to get back to doing, which we haven't seen maybe since, 2020. The crazy stat to me that came out of that game was Patrick Mahomes had 4 touchdowns, and he hasn't had 4 touchdowns since 2023. This team is kind of, what the defense brings. It is one of the top defenses in the NFL. Spags is so good at game planning. And then you have Patrick, who is, going to go all out in every sense of the word and try and win a game, as Lamar would too out there. And they're just gamers. And then put the talent around them. And when you pull Xavier Worthy and you pull Rashee Rice out, everyone can just kind of pull, Travis, double him or take him out of the game, even though he might not be, Travis of old, but he's still a guy you have to key on. I mean, he's still a dangerous weapon. Well, then, who are you going to? It's really easy to game plan against them. Now you saw, and they've developed Tyquan Thornton, Hollywood Brown stepping up, Juju Smith-Schuster stepping up. The amount of weapons that this team has combined with that defense makes it dangerous again. And to be honest, I think it's the team to beat in the AFC. And sure, it's going to come down, the Ravens could be right there. We know we're going to see the Chiefs in Buffalo later on this season. We have that game. It always seems to come down to those 3. We'll see if anyone else kind of steps up and can get into that mix. But yeah, I mean, I think the Chiefs are, at this point of the season, way better than they've been in a long time.
Did I see that you all have Denver and Philadelphia next?
We do.
So I'm rooting for you to finally have a good game. I am rooting for that to be the case for your sake.
Thank you.
I'm sure you'll have nothing but tush-push conversation for the course of the next few days.
I have to go back and watch that Philly game because obviously I didn't get a chance to, but I heard they did a lot of variations from the tush-push.
And you know what? It makes them all the more dangerous. It makes them all the more dangerous.
Be careful what you wish for. Maybe you just want them to do the tush-push.
Right. At least you know it's coming. That's a great point.
Right.
Tracy, appreciate it. I thank you for giving us a little bit of levity in what has been
hang
a
in there, Glenn.
morning.
Tell your fans to hang in there. I believe.
Appreciate you as always for spending time with us. Thanks for doing this.
You got it. Bye-bye.
It's Tracy Wolfson. Appreciate her taking the time. We'll come back in, get a tidbit tubular, and wrap it up. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Feeling sluggish, unfocused, or not like yourself? It could be low testosterone. At Game Day Men's Health, we specialize in testosterone replacement therapy to help men boost energy, improve mood, and regain confidence. Our treatments, including testosterone cypionate, are safe, natural, and tailored to fit your lifestyle with weekly injections or pellet therapy. Get started today with a free testosterone test and feel the difference. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Game Day Men's Health, where men reclaim their game.
For fans of the Costas Inn, and who isn't, I have some great news. Now there's a second location to go along with 4100 North Point Boulevard. This one is at the Timonium OTB. This is Stan the Fan, and I have been a fan of the Costas Inn and Triantafalo's family for going on 30 years. They're open for lunch and dinner, same great Costas feel, same great menu and quality food you've been enjoying for well over 50 years. The exact address on your GPS is 2200 York Road, and their phone number at the new location is 667-406-1975. If you're new to the Costas experience, get ready for a real treat. All wrapped up in a new spacious dining room in Timonium at the OTB. If you want steamed crabs, you have them, and the full menu at 4100 North Point Boulevard. The number for reservations there at Costas, 410-477-1975.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Looking for Baltimore's premier waterfront dining experience? Head to Nick's Fish House, located in the Baltimore Peninsula. Enjoy crabs all year long, plus happy hour Monday through Thursday from 3 to 6. Planning a celebration? From rehearsal dinners to corporate crab feasts, Nick's is the spot to make it unforgettable. And the fun doesn't stop there. Live music fills the air every Thursday through Sunday. Check out the full lineup at nicksfishhouse.com. Nick's, it's where Baltimore comes to eat, drink, and play by the water.
Game day gets even better at Live Casino. Score a live jersey on September 6th and bucket hat on September 27th. Plus, catch our big plays, big pays hot seats on select game days. When the home team scores, the prize pool doubles. And we'll give away a $50 sports and social gift card with every touchdown. Take it to the end zone at Live Casino. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here as we wind down for a Monday edition of the program. Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, and Luke Jackson will react not only to the end of the Orioles season coming up a little bit later on today, but probably be reacting to what we hear from Mike Elias as he's meeting with the media right now, what we've already heard from Tony Mansolino. You can check that out, facebook.com/PressBoxSports, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline if you miss it live. Stan Shows is always brought to you by the Costas Inn. And as Stan said, he'll be doing them throughout the course of the postseason as well. Nothing newsy yet as the Orioles are meeting with the media right now. Tony Mansolino met first with reporters, said he's been told he's under consideration to be the manager, and said that he believes he passed with flying colors his tryout to be the manager of the team. No disrespect to Tony Mansolino. We just disagree in that assessment. That's all. It's fine. I don't think he's a bad person. I just don't think that he has frankly, truth be told, I don't think he deserves consideration to be the manager. And that's where I would separate. I think the Orioles, Mike Elias should be announcing that the Orioles have decided they're looking for an external candidate and they're going to look outside. But I get if that's the case, they still want to make sure that they have it maybe as a possibility that Mansolino could come back in some form. But that's where I'm at with that. They'll be talking about it, Stan, Ross, and Luke. You can check it out a little bit later on today. Watch it live starting actually at 6:30 p.m. What you got for tidbit?
Jackson Dart and the New York Giants, they beat the 3-0 Chargers yesterday. They're now 3-1 Chargers. He becomes the 6th quarterback to beat a 3-0 or better team in their first career start.
No idea. Couldn't possibly.
No?
Nope. Believe it or not.
First in 1979.
Oh, right. That was
He was calling
Joe Montana.
What game was he calling on? I think he had a Peacock game on Saturday, I guess.
Peacock game?
Yeah, he was doing like a college football game, and I was like, "Is that?" I can't remember which.
Dan
was it
Fouts?
No. Was it? Maybe it had to be the Iowa-Indiana game, I guess.
Was it Phil Simms?
Phil Simms in 1979 beat. I don't know who he beat, but he came in his first career start and beat an undefeated team. Then in 1989, it was of course.
Oh right, it was
Terps legend.
Oh, Boomer?
No, not Boomer.
No. Was it 1989 Stan Humphries?
No.
Frank Reich?
Frank Reich in 1989, and then in 92.
Sure, we'll keep doing this. 90.
He was he was a Falcon, I guess. Yeah.
Was it Favre?
Yes, yeah, Brett Favre. And then in 99.
We'll just keep at it. Donovan McNabb.
No, not Donovan McNabb.
How about Tim Couch?
Not Tim Couch. Believe he was a Buck,
Dante,
right?
Who?
A Buck. I think he was a Buck.
Buck.
I think that's who he came in with.
In 1999.
Or
Sean King?
Way off. No, not Sean King.
1999. she still pre-Aki? No, it's 89.
No, he was a Niner. Okay.
Niner
from 99 to 03.
Niner from 99 to 03.
He was only with the Bucs 2 years. Why do I think of him as a Buck?
Garcia?
Jeff Garcia.
Yeah, why would you think of him as a Buck? He's
I don't
definitely
know.
a Niner.
I don't know, but I did. And then in 2002, the most recent to do this, beat an undefeated team in his first career starts with the Rams.
Well, no, that wouldn't be Warner. That would have to be Bolger.
Yep, Mark Bolger. Mark Bolger.
Ravens legend.
Yeah,
Mark
there you
Bolger.
Go. There you go.
All right. Good list.
So Jackson Dart joins that list of mostly elite, maybe.
Yeah.
Kind of good quarterbacks. Yeah, there's good quarterbacks.
Again, want to remind everybody there's no such thing as curses. There's no such thing as jinxes, anything along those lines. And you still have a couple of days to pick up this print issue of Press Box with Derrick Henry on the cover. Now, here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise this evening. Monday Night Football doubleheader-ish. Jets-Dolphins at 7:15 on ESPN, then Bengals-Broncos at 8:15 on ABC. Because I understand that these aren't good games, so we don't really want to watch either one of them, but doubleheaders that aren't actually doubleheaders, what as dumb as ties. That's the way that I feel about it. Everything else sports-wise you can find at glennclarkradio.com. Non-sports.
So on Hulu they have a new show called Death in Apartment 603. Here, I'll show you
Not
the
familiar.
first.
I saw a
about
trailer
Ellen
for The Lowdown.
Greenberg.
I feel like I do want to watch that.
The Lowdown does look good.
Yeah.
Yes, that's on FX
Yeah.
tomorrow night, the next night, Wednesday night maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. Midweek show though. This is Death in Apartment 603. What happened to Ellen Greenberg?
Help, need emergency now. My fiance's on the floor with blood everywhere. Please hurry. There's a knife sticking out of her heart. Oh no! Oh no!
It was January of 2011 when Greenberg was discovered dead by her fiancé. She suffered more than 20 stab wounds. Philadelphia medical examiner initially ruled Greenberg's death a homicide before switching it to suicide. How?
So that's Ellen Greenberg.
It's okay.
Yeah, so,
I mean, maybe.
We
maybe
can play the whole 90-second trailer if you
maybe.
want.
No, I'm good. I think I'm
Just
quite
30
all right
seconds.
with that.
So that's on Hulu. If anyone's into that, Lionel Richie and Sarah Sherman, we own Seth Meyers.
Yes, they're plugging the Lowdown.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
I'm very excited about it. Yeah.
And then Ryan Reynolds.
Nope. You're doing the late. No, stop.
And Public Enemy.
Stop it. No, stop doing that bit.
On Kimmel.
Thanks today to.
What are they plugging?
No, I do it. I will do it for one, Griffin. You get to do one.
Ryan Reynolds is
not all
plugging
of them.
because he was a big part of the John Candy documentary.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I am excited about that.
I don't know what Public Enemy's doing. I mean they're performing.
Probably about John Candy. You're right. Thanks today to Tracy Wolfson. Thanks also to Mike Jones. We'll get that up in the greatest hits section of the
Below Deck Mediterranean season 10.
We'll get that up. Tab at glennclarkradio.com. Tomorrow on the program, we will talk to Bo Smolka about it. We'll talk about Woody Marks, obviously, with Joe Serpico. Yeah, I mean, probably in a few leagues he's available. Who's the back from Kansas City? Oh, Brashard Smith. Yeah. Are you picking him up for some reason? They going in that direction?
Somebody didn't wake up in time, so they started Jalen Warren in the
rough.
From the Steelers.
Talk about it all with Joe Serpico and stuff and things on the program tomorrow. Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Game Day Men's Health, Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, CountySports.zone, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com.
You think J.K. Dobbins can get 30 points tonight?
No. Maryland 5-star. I mean, he could, but he probably won't. Navy football, Nick's Fish House, and more.
How about 40 from Achan and Cortland Sutton?
Maybe.
And then I need 4 from Will Lutz and Marvin Mims.
Probably.
Okay. All right. So at least one of those you think I win.
Yeah, probably. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday night, or as good of a Monday night as you can. Duke sucks.